I guess we can. What ended up happening with the Wick stuff? I saw people were posting screenshots in Spicy, but I haven't really been. Obviously, I don't follow Discord very closely when I'm on stream.
The 17-year-olds being sexualized and being sexual with an adult. Does that change the?
Yes. In the reason why is because I wouldn't impugn it to the degree that I would prepubescent or pubescent depictions. However, I would still think that that would belie some kind of like psychological issue. For instance, if you become an adult and you're not attracted to other adults, you're attracted to people who don't have.
So wait, they've just got retards on to talk about Loli. That's it. They didn't get food slops on. That's crazy. That's crazy. Food shops would have stomped them, dude. Food shops would have actually stomped this panel on Loli. Get this man a filling.
Jimberly super chatted $10. $10 from Jimberly. Friendly reminder that Kuihman wants Wick's tooth in his mouth.
I'll be taking Wick's teeth as trophies and adding them to my own jaw. Well, I mean, I don't know what the plan is with this content because food shops not being on. Wick interrupted the stream earlier to chastise food stamps for spurring in chat. He said she's allowed on, but it won't be until towards the end, once we was left. That's so gay. Dude, food shops would actually 1v4 right here. Well, it'd be 2v3 technically, because SFO's pro Loli. But food shops would absolutely, there is no way. She would just sit there, what's the harm? What's the harm? What's the harm? And then Connor's like, it causes a harm to the set. Well, she wouldn't do this because she's not actually smart enough. She actually would probably fuck this up. But she could just sit there and let you press Connor. What's the harm? Connor goes, well, it causes a harm to yourself. It causes a harm to the consumer. It causes a personal harm. Okay, prove that. Oh, well, I don't have to prove it. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so you've got no evidence. It's literally, it's that easy. That's how easy the Loli argument is against some retard like Connor. It literally, that's, you run down 4 questions, like 3 questions, and that's it. It's over. Wu fucking sucks. She won't call out Vaush, but food shops is too much for her. Yep. Yep. You need to coach food shops on your stream. We're not coaching food shops. We're not coaching food shops. I try and coach food shops a bit, okay, from her chat. Right. Sometimes I'll drop in and I'll watch for like a little bit. And she'll like not pay attention. So I'll start quizzing her on the video. What happened? Like, what was it the other night? I went in there. I listened to like a few minutes of it, and she like totally doesn't realize that the topic of conversation, it was like she was listening to VOD, and Alex from Playing with Fire. 1 minute he was talking about Andrew Wilson, BPF, and then like a conversation shifted and it moved on, and then they were discussing Elliot Rodger and talking about Elliot Rodger's childhood, and Food Shops was like, whoa, is this true? Is that true? But hasn't realized that the conversation has moved, so thinks they're still talking about Andrew Wilson. So I just start flaming in chat like you're paying no attention to this fucking video. And she's like, oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's like, dude, you're not even streaming. You're just sort of like AFK curating content. I don't think the raid can has moved. No, I think the raid can's still there. She got food shops. Okay, listen, food shops has got the groundwork now to actually make something, right? She gets what? What's she on now? She gets like 30 viewers, 30, 40 viewers every night. If she actually put the fucking effort in to her stream, there is actually the groundwork to get a bit of growth. But I don't think she's gonna. It's just the mind locked. I've got to stream like Destiny and Stardust. I've got to sit here and play video games stimming for 8 hours. with open Discord call-ins constantly, barely paying attention to what's going on. So that ain't how you grow. That's not how it happens now. Destiny is in a very special position where he's been around for a very long time. You got to pay attention to the videos now. She has dedicated pay pigs like Egghead too. I was flaming Egghead for being a brokey in there as well the other night. Egghead only donates like $2 at a time. Fucking broke ass. Come back on payday, Egghead. Put up some real money. She's powered through the worst of it, and she keeps pumping out videos. Some of her Vaush Caffel stuff has been hitting 2K. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just like she doesn't realize that these fucking connections, like being friends with Tom Fowler or being friends with Wick or being Brianna Wu, does fucking nothing for you. Like, yeah, you could have gotten in on a $200 a month payment from PV. Sure, you might have been able to do that if you'd have glazed Wu super early. But these connections mean fucking nothing. They mean literally nothing. I can sit here and I can be the biggest cunt in the world on stream all night, every night, still grow, and these people are still going to smell the syrup and come back round and come on my stream, regardless of how much of a dick I am to them, really, as long as I don't totally burn them. But she doesn't fucking get that. Yeah.
They have like perpetual innocent.
Let's run this back.
Short women, drinking and drugs.
Let's run it back to here.
It's not just that though, too, because you can see some anarchists on the left, and the anarchists will say stuff like, "I'm sure you've both seen this slogan a lot. Property is not more important than human lives," when talking about like home defense, right? And it's like, well, I mean, that's probably true, but if you have a world where you cannot shoot the home intruder because he can just walk into your house and take whatever he wants, and you can't even use any force against him because someone might get hurt, that's a far worse world to live in than the current one.
I think that's obviously well said. I think that, you know, one of the things that's really disturbing to me is I don't understand why it feels like younger generations do not care that much about national security, and they take peace and prosperity like for granted. And I think that Wiki did a show, I believe, last night on NATO and the lessening support for this. This is mind-boggling to me. Like, if you read the newspaper every day and look at what the State Department and like all the threats around the world, my God, we have got to be engaged in this. Like, there are a lot of reasons to like be working through the diplomatic process so it doesn't arrive at violence. There's so many situations today where there's a legitimate like case for military intervention. Like, don't even talk about Ukraine. You've got like fringe right people that've taken over ports in Africa. You've got like roving gangs. I mean, there are so many situations where violence is an answer that you have to bring. It should absolutely be a last resort, and it's not something we should rush into. But I don't understand when it became so wise to pretend like every single instance of us using force, America is wrong and evil. It does not make sense. It is such a simplistic reading of history.
I had a debate, or not really a debate, a conversation with PF Young the other day, and it was on Ukraine, and I'm funding Ukraine, and he asked a question, which I find kind of an appalling question, right? I understand it, and I think it needs to be answered, but it just rubs me the wrong way when people ask this. And he asked me, right, why should I, as an American, care what happens to Ukrainians? Oh. And that's how, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who do not understand that global incidences, right, like global conflicts, do have spillover and will affect us. Maybe not tomorrow, right, but they will have deleterious effects down the road. It's like there are a lot of people. This was echoes to the 1930s, right, when a lot of people were like, well, why should we care what's happening in Germany or France right now, right? How will that affect us? And it absolutely will change, especially since we're in a global economy right now. We're in a global world stage. It's absolutely going to affect you. But as Brianna's doing her thing, I see you, chat. I see you. I think
any super chats while she's away?
Gang, give me some super chats. There was no new super chats, unfortunately.
Oh,
but we are. Okay. I know they're falling off on their duties. But when she gets back,
no new super.
I'm not at the end of all the things I plan to say on this topic. I'm at the very end of it.
Okay, very end of it. We'll go to the very end of it, and then then we're gonna release.
Then we'll do Vaush.
Then we'll do Vaush. Horses. Okay.
Is that the time?
Then it'll be Vaush time then. I know you've all.
But now you're back, Brianna.
I'm back.
You mentioned you were a big fan of Heinlein, right?
Oh, I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, the nationalists in Spain, because other body. And then you can say, well, I mean, do I have blood on my hands? I voted for a guy that passed a law that did a thing that killed a person. I know, right? So you have to be honest about what these things cost.
Yeah. But they apply the same thing, thinking like their enemy, making wrong claims of art. They can't think outside the box. And then $2 from Soyadle to say, is SFO the anime expert we need to judge Vaush? And I
Probably, yeah.
I think so.
Oh,
You know what's interesting is that last time I was here with you, Brianna, Soyadle showed up and he asked me a question that I can't remember what it is, but I remember my answer to it. My answer was, I don't have this figured out yet. I know that in the time since I figured it out and I wrote it down somewhere, but I can't remember the question. I'm sure if it comes up, I'll be able to explain it.
you should call in. Call in.
Yeah, call in and ask the question again. But yeah, let's talk about Vaush. Where do we want to start with this? I'll ask the question again. No one answered me. Is Vaush a pedophile?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. No, he might be.
Well, based on what? Why? So you think the people who do you not think the people who jerk off to draw on CP are pedophiles? Is that not your position?
It's possible. It's like, if there's like an arc, if you drew like a circle of all possible things, there'd be a subcircle inside that of Vaush is a pedophile and another subcircle of Vaush isn't. It's possible.
Did
I don't think he is.
we all see his response video? The context
Yes.
video. Just
I have not seen all of it. No.
you've not seen all of
I
it.
was watching Erudite talk about it, but I didn't finish.
Okay. I think we'll start with this. Do you think that the contents of his porn folder were, I guess, for lack of a better word, lolly?
Yes.
Yes.
The ones that were lolly. Like there's others that weren't, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I
know the ones you mean.
deliberately have not sought them out, so I cannot personally make that
Do you
assessment.
want me to show them to you?
I don't actually. For some reason, I didn't.
SFO1. Shut up, you nasty fucking ghoul, Brianna Wu. Oh man, she makes me so angry. Just everything about her. I haven't looked at them. I'm not going to look at them. I'm not going to check what the person I paid, what child porn he's looking at. I'm not going to look at any of it. I don't know. Okay, freak.
You want me to describe them?
I will trust your judgment for the sake of this.
Well, I can describe the two that are that I can describe two.
I understand there's a horse and a very young girl involved. Is that correct?
That's not the worst one, really.
Oh no.
So here, you can mute if you want, Brianna, but for the sake of the chat,
No, go ahead.
The worst one is that so there's a horse that's fucking a woman who does appear to be of age, the blonde, because she has like really big boobs. But while the horse is fucking this woman, there is a lolly rimming the horse's asshole. Yeah. Anyone who's worked on farms knows why this should not turn.
But she's just laughing about this here. But I thought you were against lolly. I thought this was child porn. I thought it was child porn. I thought it's child porn. Why are we being so jovial about it? This is child porn, though.
Anybody on? I've been on farms. I think you have as well, Brianna.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh.
That's probably the worst one. The most grotesque one is probably that. The other one was it looked like a little girl getting fucked while another little girl was like kneeling, and it was like in the it was in like a full Nelson position. Yeah.
I'm not going to be defending that. I can't.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Well, you're not. It's not about not defending it. You should be making a strong moral condemnation according to your previous thoughts, according to your previous positions.
The others, like there was like a few blowjob pics, but like the person was of age or the character was of age, and like just like random anime pics that like you can't really tell. Those two are the ones that everyone's losing their mind over.
It does bring up the question, right? Because we only saw a portion of this, right? We only saw a single little bit. Like, what else is there? And I think it's fair, right, to ask that question. Like, hey, especially since, as I understand it, Vaush has been very critical of hentai or of lolly and these things. And to find out
anime in general, I've heard him say that if you watch anime, you're like a right winger and you're a Nazi. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's insane to say that. Like, see, here's the thing, right? For me, it's more Schadenfreude because he's being hung by his own standards. He said so much stuff about this.
Schadenfreude. What? That is a new one. That is a new one for me. Jesus Christ.
Over the years. And now he's finding himself in the position of the people he demonized. And it's like, well, you kind of deserve this, dude.
So, okay, I definitely hear you on that. And yeah, so to be clear, I just want to say this. I'm sure Vaush would not mind like anything I'm going to say tonight. Like, we're friends. I respect him. You know, I've told him
with a pedophile, with a guy who jerks off to draw on CP. Brianna, I thought that was disgusting and morally abhorrent. I thought you were against this full-throatedly. I thought this was you stood on this 10 toes down.
Mistake. I'll say here tonight. You know, I can't defend anything, and obviously I am very inclined to cut my friends a break sometimes when it comes to this stuff. So, but I think I can talk about like Loli in this issue in like a wider context. And I think there's a really, I think you watch a lot of anime, and I think one of the reasons.
No way we're about to get the. You know, there's just so much lolly in this anime stuff. There's just so much lolly hentai. You just can't avoid it. You just can't stop yourself from downloading numerous images and putting them in your to be sorted folder.
I've really pulled away from anime is as much as I appreciate the
Anime.
storylines, there is just a perversion that like goes along with it. And like best case scenario, you're talking about like, underwear shots of like women they're at least of age, but like as well as I do that you can't like watch anime without like this constantly being a theme. And I think it carries over
Not
to a lot
true,
of
not
Switch games that I
true.
see. It certainly carries through to a lot of manga. And I think that there is kind of a casual sexualization of children that is constant. And I think that it's hard to like have these hobbies and not.
There's some occasionally in like a coming of age story and stuff like that. Yes, like Vaush described, there may be some sexual elements to get introduced in some way. Yes, that's normal in Western media too. It obviously, yeah, Japan, some media takes it specifically, really fucking far in some places. But the general sexualization that you're gonna run into in just sort of like watching like battle shonen and shit like that is not really much worse than Western stuff. Nah, Boots, it depends what you're watching. You can absolutely avoid it. Mainstream shit is not gonna be super hard on that. Not gonna be much worse than Western media at all. Like the super mainstream stuff. Like Dragon Ball doesn't have anything crazy. Like the worst thing is Goku slapping Bulma's pussy. JJK, the worst thing is Ui Ui, but even he, like, there's not really massive fan service. It's just that one bed scene. Yeah, we're talking about sexualization of kids. Sexualization is one thing. That's like, yeah, there's a lot of that, obviously, but it's like sexualization of kids is the issue, right? No, we're talking about, it's about Loli. They're talking about the sexualization of children. That's what, it's not just about fan service.
Anime without like this constantly being a thing. I think there's a really, I think you watch a lot of anime.
She's talking about sexualization of children. Yeah, there's no point going back. No, Boots is just wrong. Boots is just wrong. They're talking about sexualization of kids. She says there, this being a theme. She's talking about the sexualization of kids being a theme.
I think one of the reasons I've really pulled away from anime is as much as I appreciate the storylines, there is just a perversion that like goes along with it. And like best case scenario, you're talking about like, underwear shots of like women they're at least of age, but like as well as I do that you can't like watch anime without.
Yeah, she said best case scenario. You're talking about some underwear shots.
Like this constantly being a theme. And I think it carries over to a lot of Switch games that I see. It certainly carries through to a lot of manga.
Yeah, she's saying that stuff's fine. She's saying best case scenario, that's what you'll see. She's saying the bad stuff is the kid stuff.
And I think that there is kind of a casual sexualization of children that is constant. And I think that it's hard to like, have these hobbies and not get desensitized to it.
She's saying that it's constant. It's in everything. That you can't avoid it.
To some degree. Does that make sense to you? Do you know where I'm coming from?
I think it does, yeah. Here, just so that we all know what we're talking about, because let's start.
She said the sexualization of children is constant. That is what she just said. So she is saying it is in everything. She might be saying both are in everything, but she is specifically saying the sexualization of children is constant.
It certainly carries through to a lot of manga. And I think that there is kind of a casual sexualization of children that is constant. And I think that it's hard to like have these hobbies and not get desensitized to it to some degree. Does that make sense to you? Do you know where I'm coming from?
I think it does, yeah. Here, just so that we all know what we're talking about, because let's start striking things off the list, okay? Because we're all obviously anti-CP, like actual CP of kids, obviously.
Yes.
And
brave
I do think
stunning and brave from all of us.
Stunning and brave. I do think that personally, I think it's kind of ridiculous to treat Loli as if it's like CP, because there's not actually a child there. I don't think those are equivalent. I don't think that we can say that a person who consumes Loli is the same morally as a person who consumes CP. I wouldn't say that. There's obviously degrees to what's going on here.
Can I just? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I gotta address real quick. Foodshops, what the fuck are you doing? Counterpoints is not coming on when you're on. We're not ambushing you. And I told you that you would come on after the main segment is done. I didn't know the time.
Dude, Wick is such a fucking sped. Food Shops owns you, fucking goblin. Snaggletooth. Food Shops actually owns you so hard, bro. Stop spurging in my chat. Stop spurging in my chat right now. Cry about it. Cry about it.
That would care. So I understand.
Get your fucking teeth fixed.
That's fair. That's fine. But come on. This isn't an ambush. No one's tricking you. No one's doing you dirty. Calm down. You can come on when we're done if you would still like to. It's up to you, right? I'm more than willing to hear you out, but let's not make shit up, please. But let me just kind of talk about because I wanna address you real quick, SFO, on the Loli.
You can call me Dev, by the way. That's my actual name.
Dev.
You can call me Dev.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
I guess my question for you would be: I understand that Loli isn't the same as CP, but I think that there is a connection there. And while actual child porn is absolutely worse, 100% across the board, 1,000 times worse, Loli is still bad, in my opinion.
Right.
Loli is still wrong. It's still there is a moral failing for people who consume it and view it and seek it out, in my opinion.
I think so too. Yeah, but I mean, is it something that is so immoral that it should be made illegal?
Wait, do you? Does he? Does he think that? Since when does he think that?
I don't know about illegal. I don't know if I would take that strong of stance that the government should get involved. But I will say that you should be socially sanctioned, at least somewhat, if you engage in that practice. Like if I knew that my babysitter for one of my nephews or nieces consumed Loli content, I would fire them.
Yeah, I mean that's your right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where
I mean, Wick's actually got off. I don't disagree with Wick's position here at all. Wick's actually pretty reasonable on this. What would the social sanction look like, Wick? Well, I mean, what's happened to food shops, right? I mean, what he's saying, right? You just don't associate with them. You don't want to hang out. You don't want to hang out with freaks like that. Is what he's saying. He doesn't want to hang out with people like that. He doesn't think other people should hang out with people like that. He doesn't think people like that should be allowed around kids. So, I mean, I don't even disagree with what Wick's saying here. I'm going to be real.
it's like there's a bunch of vices in our society, right? Like pornography is a vice, and gambling is a vice, and drinking and drugs are a vice. You know, clearly Loli is also a vice, right?
Sure.
But we have vices that are legal and vices that are illegal. And it's like, I don't think this one should be illegal.
I think where I fall on with,
I mean, not the moral thing.
I
think no, it's a moral issue. She's actually doing
it. I'll tell you a real story. One of my very favorite games of all time is Danganronpa. I absolutely love that game. Mad love for it. I've played through every one of them a million times.
I know where you're going with this. Go on.
So yeah, you probably know. So there's a spin-off game called Danganronpa: Another Story, and this is a really, really good. It's a good story, and it's part of a soap opera that I really, really care about. But it's also a game where children are the killers, and like there's a whole sequence of this game that basically you're watching a child like get sexually violated like in a completely gross way in like a game you get on the Sony Vita, right? And it's like,
why you been playing that, Woo? Eh?
I didn't know that garbage was in there when I played it. I haven't played Danganronpa, that particular game, since I beat that section. And it's just it's like there are so many examples of like manga that has literary merit but has these themes.
Woo looks like she would be a massive Danganronpa fan. Persona 2. What do you mean by that, DK? What do you mean?
And I wish to God I could just like guarantee like there's a button I could push to like make that go away. I would absolutely click that. But you
yeah, isn't Danganronpa, isn't this shit like beloved by like Tumblr girls and shit? And you're sitting there saying it's like this horrific thing. Like, come on, get over yourself. This is what I don't fucking buy. All this like virtue signaling. Oh, I'm just so disgusted. Oh my god, it's just so disgusting. I just can't imagine why someone would want to play this. Oh my god. Can you believe that, guys? Can you believe people would really just be okay with depictions of sexual violence? Can you believe that, guys? Can you really believe that? Isn't that insane? Oh my god. I can't believe some people just like consume media and stories without being majorly emotionally affected by it, without having their fucking world turned inside out.
Just like if you criminalize it, then it's like what's going to happen? Like everyone that's ever bought like X manga, they're going to go to prison. We've got to destroy it. Like Kindle's liable for all this stuff because you're buying it like through the iOS store, or like it's just I don't see where it goes. So to me, what makes sense is I do think it's okay.
Great
to,
age.
And I think we use this too much as a technique, but I think it's okay to publicly shame Loli. I think it's okay for all of us to go, you know what? If this is something you are enjoying sexually, that actually is degenerate and weird, and you should probably like think about seeing a therapist about that. Like this is, we do know that this can lead to children being hurt. I think that that's okay.
And
Wait, do we know that? Do we? Do we? Do we know that? I don't know if there's evidence that Loli leads to kids being hurt.
I do want to.
What's this? I will not be accepting further moral criticism from people who have no issue with jacking off to child pornography. So Vaush has no right to give anyone any moral criticism then, so his entire political advocacy fails based on your own statements here. Okay, cool. And not in an abstract sense, literally, them or their partners jacking off to CP. Do not lecture me about morality. So yeah, this is about, so, and she says here, it's totally different to CP, but back then, she said it was CP, because this is about Demon Mama and Doe. This is about Demon Mama and Doe, right? And the other one, the petting zoo. It's about the petting zoo.
I want to piggyback on this because I think that people saying, well, it's not actually, there's no actual children being harmed with Loli. That's true, but much like we see the kind of like, it desensitizes you, and this is just my intuition here. I don't have a study to back this up, but I think that it's like a gateway drug, so to speak, right? This is a starting point for a lot of people. And they will start on this.
I've got no evidence. I'm just kind of saying shit. I'm just kind of winging it. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along.
More extreme things to kind of get off. We see this with pornography too, right? There's a lot of people who start pretty tame, but then they'll need more extreme forms of pornography to get off. And I think that the same applies here. My issue with Vaush specifically, right?
Max the Confess Zero R super chatted $4.99. $4.99 from Max the Confess Zero R. Vaush being into detailed Loli gif sequels Danganronpa a great scene, a game Wu enjoys.
Like his initial response about trying to play it off as like goblin porn. What?
Okay, hold on. So Wick, this is where I can actually be a degenerate. Do you know what he means by goblin porn?
I don't. I would love to know.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know if I want to, but go ahead. For the purpose.
What do you mean you don't know? Oh, come on now. How long have these motherfuckers been online for? You ain't seen goblin porn? You never seen a bit of goblin? But come on now. How long have you been online? You never scrolled through a Warcraft thread, really? Come on. Be serious now. Be serious. Woo, I know you've been looking at Night Elves.
Kuihman, it's because Brian Wu.
Thank you. It's Transformer. No one with concern for children should let these people do work with kids. Work in a kindergarten, yeah. So no pediatricians. Freaks should be locked away. Thank you, Doobie, for the $5. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you, Max, for the $5 as well. Apparently, there's a scene of a girl being sexually violated in Danganronpa. I don't know. I don't play that dog shit. So no idea myself.
Want to go on a list, okay?
It's completely fine. Just don't pull it up on stream, okay? Here, just wait a second. So,
I'm enough of a pervert. Send it my way. I want to see it.
Okay, actually, you know what? This is a safe for work enough drawing. I think that this'll. Oh my god! If the internet will ever fucking work. Okay, hold on. Maybe it's not. Actually, you know what? This one will do. Okay.
What's going on?
Oh boy.
I'm trying to find one that's not too bad. Okay. Okay. So, I'll DM this to both of you real quick. Okay.
I'm gonna have to nuke my account. Hold on.
I really, really hope this is just something from Baldur's Gate. I really.
Okay. This is. It could have been worse.
Okay.
It could have been way worse. Okay, so this body type.
Nothing. It's not. I get it.
Yeah,
okay.
This body type in pornography is called the short stack, right? So a short woman with very big thighs and very big boobs and a very big ass, but she's tiny. She's short. but she like this creature looks like it's of age, right? Like it's not flat. You know, there's curves here. There's secondary sexual characteristics, but she's just short, right?
It's a goblin. So, it's obviously a goblin. Fair enough. Right?
It's obviously a goblin, right? But there's also you know, human female characters that are drawn like this in some pornography, where it's short women with big tits and big asses, right? And it's the shortness that puts some people off because I mean, what's her name? If anyone, oh yeah, Yuzaki-chan. If you look up Yuzaki-chan, she's a short woman with very big boobs, and she's like 22 in her show. She's like 4'9".
And this is,
right?
to be clear, gang, this is completely safe for work. I'll post it in my Discord even because again, it's just
yeah. Sure. If you just do.
SFO just showed me this really cool thing. I'm going to be posting this in my Discord. Hey guys, take a look at this. Isn't this neat? Isn't this neat? Hey gang, SFO just showed me this cool thing. Isn't this neat? Hey guys, check this out. Hey guys, isn't this? Hey gang, check this out. Isn't this neat, gang? Hey gang, isn't this neat? Dev just showed me this really cool thing, guys. Check this out. I hate this guy.
Yeah, UZAKI-chan. You're gonna get a girl who's about 4'9", who has really big boobs, and she's like 22 years old. Just a short woman, right? And I've seen people online say that this is Loli, and it's like, well, no, it's obviously not. Like, you know, a little girl doesn't have boobs this fucking big because they're huge, right? She's just short. And when Vaush says goblin porn, he's referring to this body type, which is common in drawn pornography. He's saying, listen, I didn't think these were little girls. I just thought they were short women.
But that doesn't match up with the screenshot at all. It's even worse now, right? Because that's just wrong.
It is just wrong, yeah.
Okay, so I watched the whole Vaush video, and I hear you, Dev, and I think that's really fair. And I think, you know, anytime the left, like if a woman is not portrayed as a child, right? That's kind of where my interest in this ends. You know, and I'm not interested in like policing people's sexuality. I just think like societally, I think it's okay to say if you're really, really into this stuff, like if you're getting off on it, if you're seeking it out, I think that's really strong evidence that you should like go see a therapist so you don't hurt someone. I think that's an okay message to say. I want to take what Vaush is.
That wasn't your message before, though, was it?
When you say that, you mean Loli's not short sex, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm talking, you know, someone who's obviously an underage, like prepubescent person in a sexual situation, right?
So I guess real quick, because like there's definitely things when I mentioned that we should start crossing off some things off the list, right?
Sure.
Because you know, if you look at Senra and Kagura, those girls are 17. They're of age in Canada, they're below age in America. They're 17, but they have like complete secondary sexual characteristics.
Not all of America. Not all of America. Actually, most of America
is underage.
They're not.
If you're attracted to that, you're probably not a pedophile because they are of age women. No, they look like of age women. They're not of age. You know what I mean, right? Like when the difference between somebody who's attracted to a woman who they think is above the age of consent, but is actually below the age of consent. The difference between that and someone who is attracted to a child who they know is below the age of consent because they don't have secondary sexual characteristics. Those two things are different things, right? And there's a lot of conflation whenever we talk about these things. I know, like you've both probably seen that one cosplayer who's 4'11" and who's very petite, and she's like in her mid-20s, and she does cosplay, and people say that she's a loli, and it's like, no, she's not, even though she has, like, you know what I'm talking about from One Punch Man?
Yeah, I've seen you talk about this.
And I'm going to push back on this because I agree with
okay,
you.
yeah, but come on now. But if you're why do you find her attractive, Dev? What about how do you find attractive?
Play in the gray area to push and normalize what I would consider loli, right? The meme going around like, oh, it's just a 6,000-year-old woman trapped in the body of a 14-year-old girl, right? Like that's
the other.
It's a problem, and I think that I don't know if Vaush is a pedophile. I don't. I invited him on stream to talk about it, but he said, and I think wisely so, that it didn't merit a live stream, right? I get that. But I just wish his video response had addressed it better. I still have a lot of problems and I still have a lot of questions. As I understand his video, if I may, if I understand his video response was basically just, oh, I was going through it so fast I didn't notice the loli within it. And
I think that's a little not charitable, but let's go through Vaush's video one at a time, because I think there's an assumption that everyone out there knows all this lore about every single one of the streamers, right? And I'm someone that has, hand to God, my only exposure to any of those clips that Vaush, Vaush like saying things that made it sound like he was sympathetic to pedophilia, was hearing Ethan Klein play them, right? So the Vaush video really goes clip by clip by clip by clip by clip by clip painstakingly for like probably it's an hour and 10 minutes before he even gets to the lolly in the folder on his computer, right? And I think for some of these, he gives really good examples of where Ethan Klein took out some really critical context to it. One example of that is the Mr. Girl conversation. He plays it in full, and I think anyone that's listening to that conversation honestly is going to come to the conclusion that Vaush is utterly horrified by the pervy way that Mr. Girl is talking.
It's nothing to do with the pervy way Mr. Girl's talking. It's to do with the fact that Mr. Girl was pressing him on these issues. Vaush was calling Mr. Girl a pedophile despite having espoused the same positions, and then Mr. Girl started weaving in references to shit Vaush had said, because the point that Vaush hangs up on Mr. Girl is when Mr. Girl asks him about the color of the android's panties, which is a reference to Vaush's Discord messages. That's why Vaush hung up. That's why Vaush hung up. It's not because Mr. Girl's just such a creepy pedophile and Vaush just hates pedophiles so much. He's just so anti-pedophile. He hung up because Mr. Girl was pressing him too hard, and he realized that any attempt to make Mr. Girl seem like a pedophile for the things being said was fucking blowing back on him. So insane. This isn't sweeping, it's Destiny carpet cleaning.
Talking about these issues there.
Oh,
It's
man.
deeply uncomfortable to listen to. Vaush is disgusted. I'm disgusted, right? And then it's some of the other clips where he is so clearly saying things that are just edgelord debate bro, and Vaush is going like, I have no defense for this, and I'm like, good. Like, this is a terrible thing to say. There's no defense for this. I wish you'd just apologize more forcefully so we could all move on. So, like, the first
It's litty, yeah? Pretty boy models, we out here. It's litty, yeah?
Evidence going through all of these claims and giving Vaush's side of the story for that. And I'm not saying I think he did all of it successfully, but I think it's really mischaracterizing the nature of this work to, say it's like this one statement he said about the lolicon folder.
So here's the thing. Like I said, I haven't seen his full video yet, but I have seen him explain these clips in previous streams, like a year ago or whatever. I've seen him talk about these things before. He's talked about these things many times before, it seems like. And he always says like the big one that everyone remembers before this event, the big one that everyone remembered was the comparison with cobalt mining and child labor, right? And how if we allow that, we must also allow child porn. Yeah. And it's like, and he always says, like, whenever I've heard him explain that in the future, he's been like, yeah, that's clearly like me being an edgelord debate bro. The obvious reply is we shouldn't have either of those things, not that we should allow one of them because we allow the other, right? Like, that's his point. It's like, okay, fair enough. You just said it really, really fucking poorly, right? The issue is that, like, it's still not really a one-to-one comparison, because the product of the cobalt mining is not the suffering of children. The product of CP is the suffering of children. So it's not you can't. It's not a good, you didn't make a good argument, basically.
Right.
But
he says that in the video. He says that.
Yeah. And I just want to be clear. I don't. Another portion of the video, I understand why he did it, but it's I've heard these clips out of context before. I've heard the context of the clip.
Wu said she will not be on with food shops, and Wick said he will bring food shops on after Wu has left. So
that's already baked in the cake when it comes to Vaush for me. It wasn't new to me, so I was like, okay, fair enough. I just kind of fast forwarded through some of those, right?
I mean,
not all of them,
is she on yet?
No,
not
I was
yet.
familiar with. I was just like, okay, I don't need to see this again. But the reason we're having this discussion isn't those clips. The reason we're having this discussion is because he had Loli on his computer.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true, because the allegation is that he is a pedophile, and the evidence that people use for that are all those clips in sequence, right?
I mean, that's the backup thing, but the instigating incident, at least in this case, and at least in this round of discourse, and the reason Ethan Klein and all these people have been covering Vaush is because of the leak. Like, it's one thing to make bad arguments. It's one thing to make out of context arguments, but there is something that is just tangible, more tangible. When you, again, totally ad-libbed, it wasn't planned, right? It was just the most genuine kind of mistake where he just, oh, look, this is my porn folder and here's Loli in it. And then suddenly it adds context to all those past statements that you could read into a bad faith, again, or good faith. I don't know. That's the thing. And this is the problem. I don't know. And I think Vaush's response to it has been incredibly poor. Now, This is easy to say from the comfort of my chair, right? Again, when you're being attacked, it's hard to give the exact right answers at the right time. But man, like, I want to defend Vaush more, but I can't. It's almost impossible.
So here's the thing, right? Like, I don't want to defend Vaush because he's come after me several times over the years. He thinks I'm a Nazi. So I'm happy to see Vaush kind of go down in flames.
To be fair, you have run videos that are like Vaush is unironically evil or something like that.
That was Doomer's video. I backed it up for him.
Yes, fair point.
Yeah.
But yes.
Well, I'll be making my own eventually, though, for sure, because I don't like him. But basically,
based.
I am
Fuck
predisposed
Vaush.
to not like Vaush as a person.
As for winning,
at the same time, I'm not going to go as far as someone, because Loli is not CP. I'm not going to go that. I'm not going to. Some people wanted to basically string this guy up as actually having raped a child, and he did not. Right? That's too far. He didn't do that. And you're right, Wick, when you mentioned that we're not having this conversation right now because of his past statements. We're having this conversation right now because he had it in his folder, and that
he has got to press. SFO has got to press what differentiates food shops from Vaush, because all very well you say what differentiates food shops, the petting zoo, and Vaush. What is the difference here? Why do you give Vaush a pass but not these others? He has to press it. He has to press it. You got to get her making the election year argument. You need to have her on stream saying it's an election year. We need the pedophile.
Past statements somewhat, and now we have to think a little bit harder about those past statements.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it does seem like he's done. Like, I can't see him. Does it?
Did you see his stream today? He had 8,000 live viewers.
Oh sure, but they're all hoping to see something crazy.
Engagement.
I think so.
Engagement,
but only to a point. Only to a point though, because like, there's definitely people who would back him up before that won't now. There's definitely people that would like collaborate with him before that won't do that now. I think he's pretty much destroyed any upward reach he has now. That's done. He might be able to recover given enough time. But I mean, the way the internet's taken this is kind of the same way that like they took the Pro Jared canceling from like 2 or 3 years ago. And Pro Jared kind of recovered and kind of didn't. Like after the initial wave of people, everyone looking at him to see what was going on, after that passed, he just kind of faded away. And he's like been trying to rebuild, and he's been having like only middling success at doing so. But I think in a few weeks, Vaush will definitely have fallen down quite a bit.
I guess we'll have to see, because I think what protects Vaush in this instance, right, is that he has been fortressing for a while now. Right? So I think that
I don't think Vaush is going to have this huge collapse at all, because Vaush is like, he's spoken about Loli for years. He's made so many comments about Loli and about how Loli's not that bad. I don't think his core audience care. Like the core audience, like yeah, he's lost some subs, but he's a big YouTuber.
People who are with his influence, he hasn't been reaching out like in big ways to people. At least not that I've seen. At least not how other people in the space do it. And so I think that kind of insulates him from some of the blowback. Now, I think you're right that it will impact him negatively, but I don't know. I think there's too big of a cult of personality around the guy, honestly.
You think this isn't the end?
I think he's badly mismanaging this entire thing, and you know, he should have come out immediately and just straightforwardly apologized.
Yeah, he's totally untouchable to mainstream shit for sure.
I could barely watch it. Right? He's my friend.
He should have been anyway, to be honest.
He should.
Let's be. Why was he getting on news shows when he said shit like about like taking pop shots at Republicans and all that? Like, why was he even? It's crazy that he was even allowed into these more sanitized mainstream spaces in the first place.
Made something shorter and more media focused and just extremely apologized. That's it. This is.
But they don't all believe in that. Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, I do not think that you should take pop shots at Republicans in the street. I do not think they actually believe that. I genuinely do not.
Before I say this, I just really want to be clear. I could be totally wrong on this. I'm always inclined to cut my friends a break. I think it's a good part of me. It's a bad part of me. But so I do have a charitable interpretation of this. And this is how I feel about it. So I have had to turn off Vaush's stream so many times over the years because he will be on there talking about something like sexual and in so much insanely gross detail. It's like, nope, I'm done. Like I remember this one time
it's so based when Vaush does that. It's so based.
And is going through them for like lurid detail, talking about them, comparing them, body types. All
those are my favorite Vaush segments, when he just sits there and just like rants for 30 minutes about some fucked up hentai he's been watching. That's fucking based. That is actually funny.
I'm like, look, I like.
It's better that than politics, like me.
For me, and there's a part of like his sexual tastes that is just so much part of his public persona that I think his audience is kind of tuned out to it, and I think he himself is tuned out to this. I mean this as a compliment for Vaush, but he is so autistic in person.
Oh, I don't remember what he said to her, but yeah, lovely, that was insane.
Great person, very sharp, very friendly. But there's a pause as you're talking to him. He's just kind of tuned out a little bit in a way that's really familiar if you have friends on the spectrum. And I think that in all of this, I think he's thinking about it like, well, I just like XYZ. You know, I can be into this. I can talk about this in public.
But that's
it's
a problem. If X, Y, and Z includes Loli. That's a problem.
I agree. I fully agree. And I would condemn him for that. I do condemn him for it. And I absolutely understand why people think he's a pedophile.
So here's the thing, right? Like, it's weird to like Loli.
You condemn him for it. Okay, so you say, yeah, I condemn him for it. But what does that actually mean? You're still like defending him. You're still sweeping for him.
Obviously. But it's one of those things where...
But the argument is, yeah, I guess the argument is he's autistic. Please be patient. He has autism.
He's had so many inflammatory statements in the past regarding pedophilia, and then regarding child porn. And then he's had so many instances of just blanket calling right wingers pedophiles for liking anime, like shit like that, right? There are so many people who are predisposed to hate this guy because of all the stuff that he said that has been wrong. That now that it's finally come for him, I think everyone's just like, fuck it, let's go, let's tear him down. Like everyone's been waiting. everyone's been
Remember
waiting
I
for this to
talked about
happen. because-
vultures earlier, right? The circling.
Yeah.
vultures?
Well, sometimes the vultures actually have a point though, because like if like this, it is very hypocritical to say if you watch anime because you're a right wing Nazi.
Yeah, why doesn't food shops get the please be patient, she has autism excuse?
You're a pedophile, and then to have this shit in your download folder, like the vultures have a point when they're like, you know what, this like we need to judge this guy by his standard.
The rain falls on the righteous and the wicked alike. I want to welcome counterpoints to the show.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I know we are so behind schedule on everything, but thank you for joining us. You're right. We have saddled up and we are in deep, gang, horse deep into the discourse. What are your thoughts on this? Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, have we spoken before counterpoints? I think we maybe I don't remember.
Maybe,
I know you are, but
yeah, maybe once we might have been on like a Such an Adam stream at the same time, but we've been Twitter mutuals and swimming in the same pools for a while now.
Right, yeah. I know you are, but I don't know if you've ever spoken before.
Yeah, not sure if we've spoken one-on-one, but I'm sure we've exchanged a few DMs, and also again, like Such an Adam are like a nexus for my centrist world. But if I could share some thoughts and then ask some pointed questions, I would appreciate it.
Please.
So I have no problems differentiating, and kind of I think Dev had a good instinct, which was let's eliminate what we care about versus what we do care about, and then let's boil down the variables that we are offended by, and let's boil down the variables that we think are bad for society, right? Because that's important. So I think that a 16-year-old who is reading cartoons about 16-year-olds that are sexualized or whatever, I don't give a flying fuck about that. I don't think anybody does. I think even like a young adult, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever, let's just use Romeo and Juliet rules. If you're a young adult and you're reading about teenagers being teenagers and you find it a little titillating, who gives a shit? I think the main thing that I'm focused on and that most people are focused on is either like pubescent, so people who are budding into their sexuality, like 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, that kind of age gap, and then also prepubescent. That is like the focus, because that would correlate with real world pedophilia. So are people kind of, do you match my reaction or am I off?
I mean,
Do we care as much about 17-year-olds watching?
No.
Yeah, or do we care about 17-year-olds reading about 17-year-olds who are going on dates?
Of course not.
Okay.
Bro, wait, you care about adults reading about 17-year-olds going on dates? What? So you can't play like high school dating visual novels? I don't know. You can't watch like teen movies? You can't watch a Michael Cera movie? Is that what we're saying now? What are we doing? Connor, what is this position? This is like so retarded. Dude, you can watch teen coming of age stories are totally fine, Connor. No need to spurg out. No one's watching them to get off. It's okay, Connor. It's okay. No one's jerking off to Scott Pilgrim. It's fine. It's fine. Calm down. Take it easy. No, now wait a minute. Oh, wait. Okay, Stylo, fair point. Fair point. Point taken. Ah!
So are people kind of, do you match my reaction or am I off?
I mean,
do we care as much about 17-year-olds watching?
No.
Yeah, or do we care about 17-year-olds reading about 17-year-olds who are going on dates?
Of course not.
Yeah, okay. so that's an interesting thing, right? Because having grown up with anime, if you go back and watch Sailor Moon from the 90s, I think she's 14 in that show, and I would have been much younger than 14 when I watched that. And I had my Sailor Moon crush as a kid, right? And there was she definitely wore a short skirt. It would probably be weird for an adult to watch Sailor Moon and have a crush on Sailor Moon, but I don't think it's weird for a kid to watch Sailor Moon and have a crush on Sailor Moon. Right?
Is there a moral or philosophical or psychological difference between an adult who looks at a drawn depiction of Sailor Moon?
If someone told me they want to fuck Sailor Moon, I would not even blink twice. I'm gonna be honest. I would like, they wouldn't even. Really giving. I'm sorry, dude. This is like, man, I cannot relate to this. I cannot relate. I feel alien. There's no way people actually give a fuck about that, is there? So I'm not a Sailor Moon guy. I've not watched any of those magical girl shows, okay? I ain't that type of ninja. We watched Precure, or Precure, whatever it's called, in Discord once. Smugbug kept coming in and making aggressive sexual comments about the underage girls the entire time. It was very unnerving. Flamenco and Wick chat, for real. Oh, so he is. Oh, man, let's go.
She has secondary sex characteristics versus a picture of Sailor Moon who has no secondary sex characteristics.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the secondary sex characters are what make that, basically.
Right. And then can we, so this is kind of like where I feel like we fall into a slippery slope. So I think I agree, or I conceptually agree, that I don't care about adults who have secondary sex characteristics playing with like the aesthetics of youth or whatever. Like when I was a young man, I had a girlfriend and we, role played some, professor stuff, right? Like that wasn't, sorry. So that's not like a problem for me per se, but what it would be is if you were like doing like kiddie shit. You know what I'm saying?
If I may, and this is a good question from I got this in DMs, but I'll just ask you because it's a really good question. Connor, does this do you care about it if it's like a 16 or 17-year-old being depicted and a 17-year-old's reading about it, but the 17-year-old's being sexualized and being sexual with an adult? Does that change the
yes. And the reason why is because I wouldn't impugn it to the degree that I would prepubescent or pubescent depictions. However, I would still think that would belie some kind of like psychological issue. For instance, if you become an adult and you're not attracted to other adults, you're attracted to people who don't have, they have like perpetual innocence that you are trying to corrupt. Yeah, I think there's something fucked up in your brain. You never matured. You stayed a 17-year-old in your brain. Or you want to get back to that place.
Like, so we've gone through this like.
If you want to fuck Sailor Moon, you are perpetually 17. Thank you, Connor. Thank you. What an insightful take. What an insightful take, truly. Oh man.
Or do you think? What do you think of what Vaush did and what Vaush is doing?
Well, so that was gonna be one of my pointy questions. So I didn't.
It's literally. Wait. It's literally my tweet. The show is called Teen Titans. You sick fuck. Dude, he's actually taken that position. Why? Dude.
To be honest, I kind of assume that whenever a lefty takes a liberal or libertarian perspective on Lolicon or ShadowCon, I assume that their hard drive is fucked up. So I kind of always assumed that this was the case, to be honest. I always thought of leftists, no offense to lefties, as degenerate sexual freaks. So when this happened, I was kind of like, and then I didn't really look at the specifics. So my pointed question is, with the specifics, is it as bad as people are saying it is, where it's like no secondary sexual...
you want to describe them?
You want me to describe it again?
Well, I heard the short stack, and I heard the difference between short stack and Loli, where you can have the short stack body type, which has secondary sex characteristics, but then there's the ones that don't.
Had specifically that we saw.
No, and I guess I'm here, so I might as well suffer to the fullest extent possible.
Okay, so of all the images, only 2 of them were really bad.
Okay.
One of them was very clearly a little girl in, is it full Nelson, with another little girl like kneeling like at the point of contact, and this is the one that Vaush said was the short stacks, and he's like, no, it turns out that she was just being bent and squished, and she was actually a lolly, but I thought it was a short stack. That was his defense there. The other one was a horse fucking an of-age blonde woman. She had very big boobs. However, standing behind the horse was obviously a lolly who was rimming the horse's asshole.
Christ on a pogo stick.
Yep.
So okay. So
and understanding what anime body types are, I would peg the girl as like 13 or 14.
It's disgusting. I mean, if you're defending this, like, you're not gonna watch that.
This is the backslide though. So Dev, this is kind of where I wanted to push on you a little bit, because I understand you're being very nuanced and separating variables, and we're trying to dig into the miasma of this thing with a nuanced way, because the truth is we could all just make fun of Vaush for the next 4 hours. We'd probably have a good time and it would all be funny, and I'm sure the audience would love that as well. But the point is, I think what we can do a little bit better here is actually try to parse apart the variables, so to speak. But one of the things that I saw you say, I think in public a few times, is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think you shared a meme of like, it was like a stick figure drawing, and it was like, this is a naked 6-year-old girl, and it's like a arrow or something like that, and then you're kind of like, where did the picture hurt you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there's kind of like this like liberal or libertarian approach to Loli or ShadowCon, where it says like, okay, well, where's the harm? And so can you kind of like expand on that concept for me?
True.
Because I think that's the kind of thinking that allows you to do these actions in the first place.
So that was in context of I was getting into it with Jangles, and Jangles was taking up the position of that this person needs to be investigated. We need to have the cops come in, and I was like, no, you don't. All right, because for me, this should not be illegal. It's immoral. You shouldn't do it. You probably have problems if you do it, but it should not be illegal. And so that the context of that discussion was that Jangles seemed to be very much like if you're into a 17-year-old who has big tits and you can't tell that they're 17, you should be locked up. And it's like, no, you shouldn't.
This feels like new. I swear SFO doesn't think this, or didn't think this like a week ago. I swear he didn't have a moral issue with it before. This feels new. What's this? Wick's chat is a complete meeting of the minds. Flamenco at Shota Boy Summer. I mean, Ava has sexual aspects about it, bro. Dude. And then, wait, this chat is nuts. Astolfo SMG and Shota Boy Summer with Flamenco. Dude.
Like that's ridiculous.
Well, so
Yeah.
Understood that part, and I kind of feel like we need to parse apart something there as well. So I've told Brianna Wu this in the past. Whenever we talk about law and law enforcement, I think of the conceptualization of the force of the state. So when you have somebody who produces, let's say, this drawing, the drawing that was consumed, or if you have somebody who consumes that, if you make that illegal, what you're talking about is you have armed people show up to their door and basically put them in restraints and take them before a judge for judgment. So I'm kind of asking, Dev already said no, so I'm kind of asking Wick and Brianna, do you think that cops should show up to people's houses to take them before a judge?
Specifically?
For Loli, yeah, for John Loli, no other thing.
Probably not. However, and I want to be clear, just because I don't think it should be illegal doesn't mean I think it should be okay. And I think that we should shun, belittle, mock, etc. those who engage in these practices or try to run cover for these practices. And I think that it's the reason I would be against making it illegal is because where's the line here, right? Like it's because there's a lot to it where it's like, oh, but yeah, I think that no, it should be illegal.
I think you have to look at it.
An issue. Yeah.
I think you have to look at it in terms of like what is the desired outcome, right? The reason all of us assume we were against this is because we don't want children hurt, and obviously this is a precursor to predatory behavior towards children, right? So like, is putting people in jail that enjoy this stuff, is that the best way forward, or is like making it extremely clear this is beyond socially unacceptable and you need to go see a therapist immediately if you're sexually into this degeneracy? I think to me that is a better public policy, right? I have to say, I feel like we're really dancing around something that's really different here, which is, Vaush is like, do his intentions matter, or does the way this happened matter? And to me, it's not like Vaush is like some other streamers who regularly talk about jacking off to Loli in a way that's really gross, and they make that part of their public like profile. Like, this is him accidentally making a mistake with some lewd images and getting out there to the public. I think that's a really, really big distinction. Even though I would heavily criticize Vaush, they're hurt, and obviously this is a precursor to predatory behavior towards children, right? So like, is putting people in jail that enjoy this stuff, is that the best way forward, or is like making it extremely clear this is beyond socially unacceptable and you need to go see a therapist immediately if you're sexually into this degeneracy? I think to me that is a better public policy, right? I have to say, I feel like we're really dancing around something that's really different here, which is, Vaush is like, do his intentions matter, or does the way this happened matter? And to me, it's not like Vaush is like some other streamers who regularly talk about jacking off to Loli in a way that's really gross, and they make that part of their public like profile. Like,
but he's wait, but he has made it part of his public profile. He's got so many clips of him talking about this shit, hasn't he?
This is him accidentally making a mistake with some lewd images and getting out there to the public. I think that's a really, really big distinction, even though I would heavily criticize Vaush for making all kinds of weird sex stuff part of his public persona in a way that's really uncomfortable.
I see you, Connor.
Absolutely, but he's literally made, has he not literally made comments like, who hasn't jerked off to Loli? Like, he literally said, who hasn't jerked off to Loli once, twice? That is literally a thing he said. How is that? Okay. Like, and he's done the same with the, so what, she doesn't care about the bestiality stuff? Because that absolutely is part of his public persona. The whole horse thing absolutely is part of his persona. So I don't know. I don't get it. This is just total cope.
On that. So let me get to the super chats and then we'll go. $5 from Tesco Johnson. Say, I'm glad to hear Wu will no longer appear on stream with Vaush because of her principles and strong stance against Loli. $2 from Short Stack Goblin, and this is going to be $6 in total, all from the same person. Loli shares the same proclivity as CP. Wu won't talk to food shops, but will lie for Vaush. Why does Wu ice food shops, but
True.
Lastly, $10 from Adam Unfriended to say Loli is a body type of mature women, either looking more or short women having flat chest.
No, that's moe. It's not a body type.
Okay,
a Japanese body type. Yeah.
Having petite body type doesn't equal to a child. Japanese have an obsession with cute, and that's where Loli comes from. So I guess to just answer that last one real quick, what I think of Loli, I think it's of body types that are obviously children, right? Obviously 13, 12, 14, whatever. Obviously children. So I don't know if there's like a technical term that I'm not aware of, right? But when I'm speaking of Loli, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I find to be reprehensible. I guess to answer you, Brianna, when it comes to intent, I can't read his mind. I can't read Vaush's mind. But in his video, he does say that the reason it's there is because he didn't know it was an accident. And I don't know if I can.
If I can object to this real quick, the reason why, what's more likely, a more likely explanation. Okay, this is pure conjecture. I'm not basing this on evidence. I'm basing this on bias.
Oh, here we go.
What I see as somebody
some Connor speculation, Connor investigation
of social conservatism, where I don't take biblical stories literally, but I view them as guideposts for human moral behavior, as things that we should integrate into ourselves.
Thank you for the membership, Shiro.
What I think is when I look at lefties and giga progressive, and they're like, tear down hierarchy, all the moral virtues and laws of the past of religion and dogma, they're all bullshit. They're all social constraints that are put upon us in order to normalize the cis hetero patriarchal perspectives on youth and beauty and sex and all that kind of stuff. What I see is the willingness to play with taboo in kind of like a fearless way, where I almost feel like this is like the natural result of it, where when you live in a brain that has no constraints, when words don't have firm definitions, when everything is a social construction, how is it not easy to come up with whatever like personal pretext you need to do whatever degenerate shit you want to do? That's part of the reason why conservatives like guardrails in the first place, is because it typically just says this shit is bad, don't do it, whereas a lot of lefties will be like, well, what's the definition of bad, and all that shit.
No, are you reading a bunch of Latch now counterpoints?
I'm not, but I'd be interested to know what it is.
Oh, Christopher Latch. He's a conservative political theorist. Sounds like him.
Well, is he kind of saying that like conservatives have guardrails because we believe that like you have to have these reinforcements so you don't play in the fucking muck and mire of natural human degeneracy and fucked upness?
That's part of what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, Connor, I would love it. Like, I'm amazed there's not been a national scandal yet about the games on Switch which regularly have sexualized children. I cannot tell you how many times I bought like a Japanese RPG on the Switch, and it is just
Switch, not Twitch. I was like, what? But
no, Switch, Nintendo Switch.
It's on
I would love, I would love to see.
She's proper on this topic, ain't she? All the time, man.
Nintendo get serious about that, because I agree with the guardrails that you're talking about. I really thought about this. Like, what is the reason though that like we all agree these images are degenerate? We all agree they're wrong. We all agree that like if you want to come to the conclusion you can't watch Vaush anymore after this,
name one. Let's take into an example. Let's actually go into an example there. Jesus, dude.
Like, we all agree that Vaush has addressed this very poorly. I think what I'm really coming down to is, like, why do I not think Vaush is a pedophile at the end of the day, even though I'm in no way defending this? And I think it's because Vaush is so disgustingly open about what does turn him on. Like, he's not, if he was a pedophile, there would be clips of him out there sounding like Mr. Girl. And maybe I just haven't seen those in the same way, like talking luridly about stuff. But he does this.
There literally are. What? What? How delusional is she? It's like she's just lying. It's just lying. It's just lying. This is a reptile. I keep forgetting. This isn't a person. This is a lizard. It's a lizard in an ill-fitting skin suit, as you can see from the draping. I keep forgetting. I have to remind myself. It's a cold-blooded animal, and not a normal human being. Okay. I remember now.
For horses and cocks and like hot women. Like, I know.
I would like to address
don't expect honesty.
I will let you, but address it head on first. But then I do have a pretty hard question for you that I want to ask.
Go for it. Go for it.
So Connor, go first.
Well, so if I can address it. So pedophile, if we're breaking these terms down, it's like lover of children. And I think I've heard people define this as like a primary or equal sexual attraction to prepubescent children or whatever. And so, for the libertarians, there would obviously be like a separation of ephebophilia, which is people who have a primary sexual attraction to teenagers. So we're kind of separating that out a little bit. But I also don't think that I could be corrected, and if I was corrected, I would want Vaush to go to prison. I don't think of Vaush as being primarily interested in sex with children. I don't really think of him as a danger to children. He doesn't hit me with that vibe. Now, would I let him hang out with my kids alone after this? Probably not. But in general, I just don't get that vibe. I think that he was playing with fire. He wanted to push the limits of the fucked up shit that he could check out. He did some fucked up, like he either wasn't paying attention or he played some fucked up mind game with himself about why it's not a big deal. And he took a liberal and libertarian perspective on pornography and then downloaded the most fucked up shit that he could possibly think of. And then as a result, he consumed that shit.
Well, now I have a question for you too, Connor. I have a question for both of you.
Yeah, so finishing the point, the thing that we're most afraid of, the reason why I think most people knee-jerk back away from this, they want to set it on fire, they want to hit it with a flamethrower, is because these are all warning signs of someone who is willing and able to play with those social limits to the point that they might abuse a child. And so if somebody was playing with those things, those ideas over and over and over again, who's to say that they're not going to be like, oh, well, social rules don't really exist for me, so as a result, I'm actually going to go to the most socially egregious sin that our society
everything they're saying is true about Vaush.
At this point, because it's been brought up in super chats, and I think we haven't addressed it, but I think it deserves to be addressed. Why are we willing to associate with Vaush but not food shops? They've done similar thing. No, I'm with you. Like, I'm willing to hear Foodshops out at least, right? But what's the difference between these two, right? Why, when we see Vaush having Loli on his computer, right? And he may
let's see.
Put out a bunch of reasons why that was true. But then when Foodshops, I don't think I've seen her have Loli, but she has admitted and made some pretty gross statements as well. Like, what's the difference? Why? Yeah, this is both Connor and Wu.
So I want to be really clear about this. My objection to Foodshops is not that she jacks off to Loli, which she's talked about many times. Like, as I understand it, she's in therapy for that. Good. I'm really glad. I hope you don't hurt a child. My objection to Foodshops is she's a drama farmer, and she's doing it right now in your chat. And I just, like, I don't think it's a good faith conversation.
First of all, Cap, you dissociate because of the Loli stuff. Second of all, I can't remember what my second of all was. It's the first time I've done that. Fuck. Go back. Let me hear that again.
What's the difference? Why? Yeah, this is both Connor and Wu.
So I want to be really clear about this. My objection to Foodshops is not that she jacks off to Loli, which she's talked about many times. Like, as I understand it, she's in therapy for that. Good. I'm really glad. I hope you don't hurt a child. My objection to...
Oh yeah, she's obviously not in therapy. She was never in therapy. What is this shit? We should probably did have a therapist, but she wasn't in therapy for pedophilia or anything like that. And she claims she was prescribed Loli by it. Like, it's just a crazy. What a fucking bizarre thing to say.
Foodshops is she's a drama farmer, and she's doing it right now in your chat. And
total
I just
liar.
I
Total
don't think
liar.
it's a good faith conversation.
Such a reptile.
I don't think she's interested in I think she's interested in farming drama and getting attention in a really low rent way. And it's like, I just don't have to.
Such a reptile.
I get enough of that. So it's just the truth. Again, Foodshops, I like her personally. I used to think she was cool before she went on this drama farming nonsense that she's doing over and over and over again. So
Foodshops needs to bring back the Eagle Nation. I think that's the only answer here. The Eagle Nation needs a new leader. Jay Striker is out of action. Foodshops, you need to.
Stop that. Jump into my DMs. You want to talk about like adults? I'm down. But I have to conclude you're just doing something that is it's fundamentally exploitive, and I don't want to participate in it.
Yeah,
hold on. Can I reply to that real quick before you answer counterpoints? Because I want something clarified if you don't mind. You're friends with Chud Logic, right? Because he's also a drama farmer.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. I mean, he does much the same stuff.
We're friends, I think.
Is that why you've distanced yourself from him too?
I think I don't like.
He stays on the side.
He's shout on PV.
Yeah.
It's probably more of it.
I mean, I like Chud. I like his stuff. I go on.
So do I, by the way. Nothing against him. I like him.
I think that you see now I got to say something.
He's shout on you and shout on PV.
I think Chud does a better show, and I think there's more talent there. And I just
that's
think
a weird line. Yeah. I'm gonna be real. That's a weird line. This is more entertaining to me, so I'm willing to overlook.
Yeah, literally.
No.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, wick pressing. Okay, snaggletooth press.
I think at the end of the day, Connor had a discussion about, was it Loli, Connor? Can you remind me? You had some really, really good. Yeah, it was about Chud.
It wasn't really good. It was fucking painful.
Yeah, I wanted him to be more strong about his stance of it being negative and degenerate.
Correct. That was a conversation, and I really felt in that moment Connor was connecting with Chud. It was a real conversation. It wasn't drama farming. It was really exploring something in an entertaining way. I think the fundamental mission there was truth. And I think my assessment of Foodshops is this fundamental.
What?
The interesting thing about that conversation is I think I went super hard in that conversation because of my fear and anxiety around normalization of this. Whereas I've watched all of Chud's coverage of the entire event. He's almost said verbatim what I would want him to say. He's been reasonable and trying to perceive Vaush's strongest perceptions while still not letting him get away with bullshit. And so as a result, I feel like he did a really good job of being strong, holding his feet to the fire, but also seeing nuance where there was.
I have to turn off John's Vaush coverage sometimes because I just hear him say something I want to disagree with it, but I know. And not only is it a bad idea for me to argue the point, but also I know that Chud is openly kind of dishonest about these topics and says, I won't say certain things because I'm worried about the perception. So it's like you have to, sometimes there's some points where to get someone to admit that they're wrong on it, you would have to dive into some other point where they're obviously not going to cede ground because of the perception. Like if you've got a really pressed Chud on what age do girls start becoming attractive at? If you've got to really press him on that to win a point, there's no point having the conversation because he's openly dishonest about that because he's concerned about the perception. So, I mean, I just add it up. I just go, we're not gonna get into that.
So I actually think his coverage of the drama so far has been fantastic. Yeah. What I would say when it comes to maybe me being hesitant about Foodshops.
Yeah, exactly. But I should be clear. The perception because he's got kids. I should be perfectly clear on that. It's not just, I don't want to get shit from people. It's not that sort of perception. It's because of his kids.
which by the way, I think this variable could totally change.
Which is
whether or not
reasonable.
I feel like there's an attempt to normalize. So when I hear,
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't want the
Foodshop saying,
PTA
like,
seeing that
"Oh,
clip,
well,
exactly.
you know, I had POCD. I was anxious about this for a really long time. As a result, I started consuming a certain style of content. I, you know, gratified myself to that content, et cetera, et cetera." What I almost see is like a opening of the discourse to saying we should consider this as a treatment for POCD people, or we should consider this as a potential treatment for pedophiles. Whereas what happened with Vaush, let's be real here, he got caught with his hand in the proverbial lolly cookie jar, and then he sprinted in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
His first stream. Well, hold on. His first stream was, relatively speaking, cope, and then his extended thing was, let me explain all of the clips that I've had in the most painstaking detail possible. Let me whip myself on the back.
Imagine he says some nut shit and chaperones his daughter's school dance. The PTA would have a conniption. Jesus Christ.
About why it was fucked up and stupid, and then on top of that, here's a half-assed excuse about the stuff that was on my computer because I don't actually want to, you know, probably own up to what the fuck was going on. But he at least has the capacity and desire to feel shame, whereas I feel like he's not trying to normalize what he did.
Yeah, he got caught, so he apologized.
And if he did that, if he came back in a month and he was like, "Hey, gang, turns out what I did was based. You should do whatever you want. Who gives a shit? No kids were exploited." Then I would be like, "Fuck this guy. I'm never talking to him ever again." And if I can do what I need to do in order to make sure that my circle isn't helping him, I would.
So
Connor, hold on, Wick. I have to agree with that. Connor, you just hit it absolutely on the head, which is if you listen to Foodshops talking about this over and over, it is minimized, it is blame, it is there's no problem, it is not understanding why it's so disturbing. And you're 100% right. Vaush ran in the other direction. And you know, if Vaush had done a fraction of that, you're damned right I would end my friendship with him, and I would have a very, very different message today. So you're God, that is so well said, is the attempt to normalize this stuff. If I'm remembering correctly, this is what Foodshops has said she wants to do, is normalize these kinds of feelings and these kinds of struggles and make people talk about that. Like, that's disgusting to me. You need to talk to your therapist about it, and you don't need to talk about jacking off to Loli on stream. It's really, really
here's
fucked
a couple
up.
things.
Well,
here's a couple things.
I have
a couple things that I just disagree 100%. I disagree. I think that almost
I'll take some notes.
Please. It's almost worse to me, right? When one person, it feels dishonest, and I don't know if Vaush is being dishonest. To be clear, I want to make that clear. I don't know if Vaush is being dishonest, right? But it looks like he is from certain angles. It absolutely does. It looks like he got caught, and that is why he's running away from it, because he got caught. That he had been.
Yeah, exactly. Vaush doesn't even think this stuff is bad. He's just trying to right the ship so he isn't completely ostracized from the wider community. Exactly. Yeah, Vaush has no moral issue with this stuff.
Very critical of this, but engaging in it behind the scenes while also telling people how gross it was. And that, it makes me have to reevaluate. Now, I'm not here to defend Foodshops by any means. However, if she's willing, she can come on after, right? I know that she doesn't want to be ambushed, and so she didn't think Connor was going to be here. And I know that Wu doesn't want to have her on, and that's fair. But she's welcome. We're gonna stream as much as we need, and we'll bring her on after. So unless she annoys me enough that I rule 0 here for my Discord, which she might if she keeps on going, right?
So
in chat, right? But right, I'll say this: that
it's annoying. I will give him
being
that.
honest about it. I see your method about normalization. I see that.
That's very true.
But it becomes trust. Like, do I trust Vaush now? I don't know if I do.
I don't know if I do either. Oh, go ahead.
You don't have to. So for me, shame is a powerful social motivator. And by the way, like, this isn't to be mean to any creators or peers or whatever, but you guys are people. Like I will shake your hands. I'll be your friends. We'll go get drinks whenever we're in town together, et cetera, et cetera. But what I care about is the way that you affect your audience. What ideas are you spreading? How are you affecting young people, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're all mentors to a certain degree. I know Chud doesn't believe that we really have that large of an impact. But let's say that Foodshops and Vaush were the same size and they were engaging in the same behavior. I would infinitely be more concerned with Foodshops being like, we should consider this as a way for treatment. We should push this to be normalized. We should welcome non-offending pedophiles into our space. We should do this.
Is Midna the green-haired one from One Punch Man? Is that who that is?
Whereas Vaush, like you said, he could be being dishonest where he's running away from this, but at the same time, at least he has like the social feedback loop instinct to know that it was bad and he should be ashamed and he will pay a social consequence.
Who's the green-haired? That's
Tatsumaki.
Tatsumaki.
I want them to see that even Vaush, like 400K subscribers.
Oh, that's the Zelda imp.
He's going to pay a social consequence for this. Yes.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yes.
Okay.
At minimum, reputational.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being cynical.
Yeah, from Twilight Princess.
I don't know if he's actually going to take a hit. And that,
I don't think he's going to take. He might take a slight financial hit or whatever. He might have like a core audience because let's face it, he's charismatic, he's good at rhetoric, right? However, I do think that the reason why Destiny, as an example, has been able to get into the rooms like Jordan Peterson, like Ben Shapiro, et cetera, is because he has the social acumen to know when to own arguments and when to kind of like be tactful about them. I think that Destiny really should have been sunk by the incest arguments that he was having 10 years ago. He's not, because he has the ability to articulate, like, I'm not actually into incest, I'm doing the great bro argumentation. This would be like if Destiny was caught with like not just incest porn, but actual like incest videos and photos on his computer, right? That would have prevented him from getting into bigger rooms. So, you know, yes, Vaush might stay the same size. He might even grow a little bit online. He might even do well online, but I don't think he's ever going to break into the mainstream.
This is gay anyway. Who wants to do? Oh man, listen. Maybe I'm just edgy. Maybe I'm just edgy and stupid and young. Who the fuck wants to be in mainstream? Wants to be in big rooms? Dude, the internet's way more fun. What the fuck? Who wants to be in boring, stuffy, gay, mainstream offices and shit? Who wants to? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that? Why don't you want to be on the internet arguing incest? I don't get it.
To this.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Dev. Dev's been we've been talking over Dev.
I've been waiting. Yeah,
ahead,
everything's going off. You know, I want everyone to talk. Right? Okay, so I think I've probably like compiled 3 things that I want to say. One of them is from pretty far back in the conversation, so we'll rewind a bit.
J-Stalk is not married.
Between,
J-Stalk's a born-again incel, he said.
If you're somebody who is into Loli, and the Loli is of like a 5-year-old girl, like a 5-year-old character, then you're probably just a pedophile, right?
Yep.
Because there's nothing like there's no secondary sexual characteristics. There's nothing there. You're just a pedophile, most likely. If we're talking about, you know, the character who is like 16 or 17 but looks somewhat adult, and you're still into that, you can't treat it the same, because like now it's like, well, why are you into somebody like that? Because it's not that you're a pedophile, it's that you want somebody who is very immature, and that's a different, like, it's still a problem. It's a different kind of problem, right? It's like, well, why do you want somebody who you have such a massive hold over? If you're like in your 30s and your girlfriend is like 19, that could be a problem. You know what I mean? So they're different conversations. They're both bad, but they're very different conversations.
Yeah, can I throw a rock at the English people real quick?
Sure.
So there's a song called Girls by the 1975s where he's like a 30-year-old man and he's singing about his 17-year-old girlfriend smoking pot with him and how they were just meant to hook up and never do anything again. So what I would say is that the amount of social indignation you should have for an early 30-year-old dating somebody who is just at the age of consent, depending on that country, is the same kind of moral indignation you should have for somebody who consumes hentai of upper teenagers or whatever. So yeah, it's bad, it's gross, and if you're taking advantage of people socially for their lack of maturity, it's gross. It's not the same thing as a prepubescent child. So you said it, but I just wanted to say English people are pedophiles.
Okay.
I came back
the second thing is I do actually think,
excuse me, English people are pedophiles. My bad.
I do actually think you guys are giving food shops a bit of a bad rap here, because
it's so easy to shit on. It's so easy to shit on British people and English people, isn't it? It's just such a safe, edgy thing to do. Have you said about trans people next? Lolicon is a part of the trans experience. Let's be perfectly clear, okay? Loli and Shota, it's part of the experience. How about you say that instead, Connor? How about you say something real? How about you say something raw, something true?
Of her in the past couple months, and she has come out and said a lot of the things that you guys say that she should say. Just that no one's watching now. Like, everyone's kind of moved on, right? So she has said, like, listen, I was being a debate bro. I was being an edgelord. I obviously fucked this up. This is not how I feel, and I've heard her say it several times. So it's one of those things where, you know, maybe you guys just haven't heard it, but she has done the disavowals that it seems like the two of you are searching for.
I tell you what, you know, Connor and I are starting a new show. It's going to debut on Friday of this week. I think we're going to start doing every Wednesday. We already have a guest this week to talk about the Houthis, but you know what? Food shops, jump into my DMs. We'll see if we can.
She is, I mean, like, we don't have to wait. She's backstage if you want, right?
I don't want to do it tonight. But yeah, we'll see.
We go. Oh, someone's mad in chat. Okay, guys, Murasaki's fucked up, showing themselves. Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm looking. How old's that girl in your front picture? Just wondering.
I'll stay after.
I'll leave from a wholesome stream and find this drunk. What gay wholesome stream are you in? Go back there. Literally go back there. Go back there. No one wants you here.
The combo, and then we can do it later as well.
Sounds great.
But yeah, in my opinion, based on all the times I've spoken to her, because I've been on her stream a bunch of times, just like doing other debates about other topics, and the stuff of hers that I've seen, I do think this is something that she has actually backed away in much the same way that Vaush has backed away.
What's your mum's basement incel? Dude, it sounds like you probably cannot even biologically have sex. So that's unfortunate, isn't it?
So I think it's fair to give her a shot.
But it's not my objection. It's the psycho behavior outside of this. That's my objection. Right?
She's also pretty schizo, yeah.
Oh, Stylo banned.
Okay. So the charity that this is the thing, is I like to say what's in my brain. Okay, that's the way that I communicate. I don't do.
Was there just like an anime girl?
However, I think that Destiny, arguably, especially early in his career, with the incest argument or whatever, also with some of his abortion debates, what he was doing was trying to isolate the variables in the most hyperbolic way in order to create the most contentious conversation possible, in order to invite the most amount of controversy, so he could get the most amount of eyeballs on his stream. I think that's what he did. As a result, he did pay a social consequence. If you'll remember, Soph was like a dissident right-wing debate girl who was on YouTube for a little bit. She was talking
for the 999 Max.
She was
Max the Confess Zero R super chatted $9.99. $9.99 from Max the Confess Zero R. W ban.
Isolating variables and trying to get people to think about why they feel the way that they feel, et cetera, et cetera. I don't actually want to engage in incest, right? And I think the reason why I'm willing to extend to Vaush that level of charity, especially for the slave debate stuff, is because I've seen the logic. I think it's bad logic, but I get it, which is you guys don't you guys, meaning normies and liberals, you guys do not pay attention to the negative variables that go into your society. As a result, aren't you just as hypocritical and shitty as people who exploit children? Now, the obvious answer is that there's like little variables that make it different. But at the same time, Nick DiOrio, as an example, I like Nick. I think he's one of the best drama shit posters on the internet. However, he basically missed the point. He was like, well, the difference is that nobody understands the exploitation and the supply chain variables. And I'm like, that was Vaush's point to doing that rhetoric in the first place, was to get people to consider the abuse inherent in exploitive global supply chains. So that's an
some of
about how you're.
I love Nick DiOrio, okay, but I wish the commentary people would stop commenting on the Twitch posts that's fully heavily. Oh man, because it's like when you hear Willie Mac come in, it's like, oh, Willie Mac's making a video on Hassan. It's like, I'm not gonna lie, dude, Hassan probably does understand politics better than Willie Mac does. I mean, I get Willie Mac tends to try and stay away from specific stuff and just do that fact checking and hypocrisy checking. So that makes sense. But it's like sometimes you'll just hear him come in and try to say stuff about like political ideologies, and it's just like, oh man, why are you commenting? Not really my thing, but you give tar dust warnings. You hate these grassless fucks, so I sobbed. Well, oh, thanks. Yeah, people appreciated the Stardust warning, I think.
You're wrong. Because of the exploitation. That was exactly the entire point of that line of argumentation.
People in chat, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, are saying that Destiny recently has defended Loli a few times.
Oh, really?
On his
yeah, I hated that, and I didn't want to lose the brain cells of it. The clip that I saw or whatever was like, who gives a shit if you jack off to fucking cartoon drawings, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Wouldn't it be nice if you had a large streamer who was able to back you? Too bad you burned all of your bridges. That was the 30-second fucking clip that I saw when you were shit-talking Vaush for not having Destiny in his corner anymore. But by the way, that's why I went to Dev immediately in this conversation, and I was like, what did you mean by your liberal libertarian jerking off to drawings doesn't hurt anybody thing? And by the way, I think Destiny's dead fucking wrong on this, and the only reason why I'm not engaging on him on this is because we would basically scream at each other over it, and I would lose brain cells and probably blood pressure, and I think that his sycophants would agree with him, but ultimately it would be like a optical black eye for all of us.
Optical black eye for all of us. Fair enough.
I think so. If I'm screaming at him, don't jerk off to cartoon kids, and he's like, well, it's my right to as an American, then yeah, I think we all lose in that conversation.
So the third thing,
First Amendment, Connor.
No, I wanted to ask you, Dev, like, how do you, like, as someone who watches so much anime, and, like, you're clearly, like, look, you're in this country,
anime.
like, how do you feel about all of this? Like, what standards do you hold yourself to? Like, do you try to avoid this stuff? Like, how do you kind of thread this needle with your, like, love of the genre that is famous for this kind of stuff?
Which, by the way, this is off-putting to me for the genre. It's part of the reason why I don't participate in the genre.
Exactly. Same.
So I've definitely found that naturally taste of
we do get
right. So
Foodshops.
there's definitely a period where, like, when I was the same age as the underage girls and I was watching it, I was like, this is clearly meant for me, because this is a 15-year-old girl being sexualized, and I'm 15, and that's exactly what I should be looking at, right? And then,
if you're a 15-year-old boy looking at a Sailor Moon cartoon and she's 15 in the cartoon, and you think that she's cute, nobody gives a fuck, or at least I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and then, like, there's definitely a bleed over effect where, like, when you're like 18 or 19 or 20, and you're like, you're still watching the same stuff because it still interests you, but you're like, hold on, man, I'm a little bit older now. When you watch it, you go back into the headspace of when you were 15, and you have to realize, oh, I'm not 15 anymore. This is kind of weird, isn't it? And then after a few viewings, you're like, oh, this is actually really kind of weird, isn't it? Like, and then like, I eventually got to a point where like when I watch like Attack on Titan, that's not sexualized at all. I'm just like, it's a show, right? And I'm now at a point where watching girls walk around with their tits out in anime is just not as appealing as I've gotten older, and my taste has just changed away from it.
This is an important thing though. So I feel like when you stunt emotionally or socially, then you're going to stay in the milieus of your teenagehood. So if you don't have sexual partners, if you don't have an advanced social relationships, if you don't have a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, then you're going to stunt towards like the end of your teenage development. And then as a result, the reason why it's weird is because if you're still mentally or emotionally 15 or 16, but you are 32 or 34, then I think you're correctly impugned for not maturing. But guess what? It's going to involve I hate to say this, it's going to involve touching grass, going to the bar, talking to real people, being socially anxious, and going out and exploring life. It's not going to involve staying inside, listening to your favorite streamer tell you about why jerking off to fucking 13-year-old drawings of children is okay.
And can we
like, you got to pick a path there, and there's a right path and a wrong path.
I know exactly what you mean, because here's the thing. I was probably like that when I was like 19 and 20 myself, where like I went through a period of stagnation, and like I couldn't handle the fact that my life had radically changed, and like I was failing out of school, I was in a really bad relationship, and I had to drop out and lose the relationship. I didn't lose it right away, but like I had to go through several like life changes of you're not a teenager anymore, you can't keep behaving like this. And so the problem that we're talking about is like Loli seems to be a symptom, but the problem is something very different.
So let's talk about
Peter Pan syndrome to a certain degree. People don't want to grow up, and that's where if a creator encourages somebody to not grow up, that is a moral indictment of that creator and of their audience to me.
Lumi's in my Twitch chat saying I will not grow up over and over and over again. Lumi,
I'll check your hard drive later. We'll see what's on there. Jesus Christ.
I will. Let me say this. I think that there is a conversation to be had because you mentioned Dev, right? That you grew up, you were looking at sexualized anime, basically, right? I think this is and Vaush mentions this to his credit. There is a problem in anime with over sexualization of childlike and sometimes actual children, right? Like that is a big problem. It's one of the reasons I can't get into anime, right? Because I'll be watching a show and I'll be like, oh, this seems interesting. Why are they doing this for a 14-year-old girl? Why is she suddenly? Why are we doing fan service for this? And I just can't watch it anymore.
Can I Evo psych this a little bit?
If you wait, let me get through some super chats and then we'll go to comments.
I still haven't covered my third topic yet, but okay, keep going.
Again, this is why these things take long. Maybe we just need like a monthly show where we all get together and talk about issues of the day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as it's not exclusively about anime and shit on Lolicon,
God,
sure.
absolutely not. Let me get through these super chats. $5 from Parallax. Foodshops has historically done horribly defending this. Carry on. Hand her the shovel. $5 from Short Stack Goblin. Real dishonest excuse from Connor and Wu. Just be honest. Vaush is too big to fail, so you defend him being a pedophile, but not Foodshops.
I'm not defending shit.
Yep. $2 from Hassan Piker. I'm sorry. $2 from Antelope the Greek to say Hassan Piker, I'm coming for you. Sam Hyde. Big Goth for £5 or euros, I should say. I'm concerned with less fear of rumor discourse and the continuing need to tear down all social barriers. We'll give Vaush a pass on this.
Donation.
And then finally, $5 from Antelope the Greek. What's the IDF about? What's the IDF? How about IDFC? Them J-boys really turning Gaza to Zaza smokes. How y'all going to praise Muhammad but make no profits?
Jesus.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So Dev, can I give you my Evo psych explanation for why Japanese people draw hentai and why hentai disproportionately has childlike stuff in it?
Is it all Hikikomori shit?
No, it's actually, it goes back to the nukes. I know. There's a lot of pressure to be responsible. There's a lot of pressure to like honor your elders. There's a lot of pressure from World War II, where basically Japan, if you hear from the outside world, Japan did a whole bunch of fucked up shit. If you're listening to the internal history of Japan, they were justified in everything that they did. They actually whitewashed their fucked up shit in World War II a lot. Also, you have to deal with the fact that 2 major cities inside your country were evaporated within weeks of each other, annihilating 500,000 people instantaneously. There's actually, I don't even know if it's a theory. I think it might just be true that Godzilla is like the reason why it's a popular series, why it's a force of nature that destroys entire cities, is actual like an honoring of like the nukes, like the concept of being totally powerless in the face of like overwhelming death. And so I think that
honoring. I think the one that I heard is basically that it's like a pathological fear. In their culture now of
that a city could just be evaporated instantaneously. And so I got to see like the quizzical looks on Brianna and Wick's face. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but for me,
I'm reading chat and my quizzical looks is all for chat right now. I've heard that theory with Godzilla and I tend to agree with it, and so carry on. Yeah.
Well, so just to wrap it all up, what I would say is that growing up in that culture has to be fucking terrifying. So the way that we were talking about being kind of like a young adult who's latching onto these cartoons as a young American who feels hopeless and doesn't have it, you have stunted social and emotional growth. I think in Japan, it's probably very similar, if not overemphasized because of all those cultural pressures that I was talking about.
I think that's fair. I have, Dev, I know you've got a point you want to get to, but like really, really quickly, I've got a question I want to ask both of you too, Wick, because y'all will know better than I would. Like some things, so Dev, you talked about like being a child and having a crush on Sailor Moon, and I get that. But I remember like when I was a teenager, most of the dudes like around me really not being into the girls in our class as much as like Jenny McCarthy and Carmen Electra and like really sexy adult women. And what? Yeah, please go ahead.
It's because we were raised on X-Men, where all of the women in there had huge bazongas and huge donks and crazy emphasized secondary sexual characteristics. And we had like Maxim and all those things just showing us women's with huge tatas and huge badonks. And as a result, the 1980s and the 1990s raised young American men to have a fascination with
and Britney Spears,
very sexually developed women. Whereas I would say
and Britney Spears.
And part of the reason why I think the anime subculture was partially disparaged is because it was viewed as like frilly and effeminate and kind of like girly and appealing to a weaker thing than the testosterone-filled G.I. Joe. X-Men. I can still see the girl's butt. Does anybody remember? So it's like
Rogue?
It's Wolverine. He's looking at the picture in his bed, but it's the girl's butt from the opening credits. Is it Rogue? Is it her butt?
It's Rogue. Yeah, it's Rogue.
Yeah. So that like automatically guaranteed that I would be straight and into adult women.
So here's the thing. Like, I'm a bit younger than you guys.
Okay, this is painful. Let's skip to food shops. All right, I'm kind of getting done with this. We get it. They're reptiles. There's not going to be any consistency there. That's fine. I get the fucking message. Let's skip to food shops.
But as a courtesy, because I do believe in hearing everyone out, I did offer her a chance to come on today when we were done with the main conversation. We are done with the main conversation. Now it is her turn. Let's bring her on. You're live!
She's also completely
give her a second.
muted.
It's been a while, right? Oh, she can see us.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, here we go.
First question, and again, up to you. Wait, no. Do you want counter here, or do we want to kick him off? I'll do either. Up to you.
Okay. Connor can stay here. It's fine.
Are you sure?
Right.
No, there's no shame in saying
fine.
no. Right?
I assume you don't want me to troll you?
No. I'm fine. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Warming
up.
If I was brought on an hour earlier, I probably would, probably make my arguments on this panel. Of course, I think, you're a good person. I think Connor is a good person. Now, here's the thing: is what I don't appreciate is this. Okay, is basically, I think originally we agreed on, I think 7. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I said it would
7?
probably be 7 when we were done with the main conversation, but obviously
Sure.
they like to
And
talk,
then-
and so I underestimated that.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I want to show you how it sort of built up to it. Okay, so it was 7 p.m. first, right? And then, because I'm trying to add 3 hours because I live in Pacific, right?
Sure.
And then it was pushed back an hour, which I was also fine with, right? And then, you told me Brianna Wu didn't want to have me on, right?
Mhm.
And
Okay,
I also
spit.
accepted that, right? Now, hold on just 1 second. I sort of want to just disable. Hold on. All right. Okay. And then what happened was
He's kind of fucking this up.
at some point it was past the 5 p.m. The 8 p.m. point, right? And I DM'd you. I was like, hey, we are sort of 30 minutes past the point, or sort of past the point. I don't think I said 30 minutes, right? Okay. I accept that. You didn't respond. It's fine, right? Then obviously I say, hey, Wick, check DMs in the chat, right? You did not check DMs, or maybe you did, but you didn't respond yet.
Because
okay?
I was moderating a show. I was busy.
That's
Oh
fine.
my god, let her fucking
That's okay.
talk, dude.
All right. So at some point, all right, I sort of got impatient. However, I felt as though the terms have changed enough to the point where I began to complain, right? And now you can say that I'm being rude in the chat. However, I would say that I had apt justification to complain in the chat publicly, okay? And
Okay.
then at some point, because of my complaining, you guys had a short segment in which you guys were dogging on me, right? Now at that point, it is considered, polite to let me on because you guys are dogging on me, right? At that moment.
Well,
Because
let's
at
defend
that
ourselves.
point, the arguments are fresh in my mind, the arguments are fresh in your mind, and we are able to hash them out, right? Now, and then it just sort of went back and forth for a really long time until, now, right? So
Yeah, so she was originally, it was supposed to be a 2v2 debate that was Food Shops and SFO versus Brianna Wu and Wick on Lolicon, and Food Shops being blacklisted. And it changed and changed and changed until it's just a Food Shops call-in with Wick and SFO at the end.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have no problem having this conversation with you. I have no problem remedying stuff with you. However, I feel hurt and I feel disrespected. And here's the thing: is that I'm as much of a person as Vaush. I'm as much of a person as Destiny, and painting me as schizo, unhinged, a drama farmer is an easy way to discount my arguments when I think now I'm articulating just fine. When I think that I articulated far better than I did months ago.
So how about
okay?
this?
So
We
I'm
can
not
either
gonna
do
grace
this-
you with clout,
we
and
can
I'm
do
gonna
this-
go now. Bye.
Okay.
Well, she's welcome.
Don't give him the
to
fucking
reschedule
content.
if she
Exactly,
wants.
yeah.
But she is not.
Don't
the
give
main
it to
character.
him.
I will do whatever I fucking want with my fucking show, and to try to manipulate people.
Yeah, but spinning people around, fucking lead them on wild goose chases after a fucking over, and then fucking talking shit about them without them there. That's a bitch move. That's the facts. Look at this way this fucking child has just been owned. Snaggletooth here has been owned by schizo trans berserker Food Shops.
Clout,
We
and
can
I'm
do
gonna
this-
go now. Bye.
He is so mad. He's seething.
Okay.
Gritted teeth, almost. As gritted as he can make them.
She's welcome to reschedule if she wants. But she is not the main character. I will do whatever I fucking want with my fucking show, and to try to manipulate people, right?
It's a gritted
There's a
teeth
reason
sound.
that people don't trust Food Shops.
Spraying
or
through
want
the
her around
gaps.
Or want her on, okay? And she has every right to feel upset or hurt or anything like that. But to come on to my show when I have graciously, right, unbanned her for the specific purpose, right, to hear her out, to hear her side, right, and because it wasn't in the time that she wanted, if she had been like, hey, I can't do it right now, it's too late, you guys went too long, let's do it another day, perfectly fine. And she's still welcome to do that. But let's not pretend that that was anything other, right, than this entitled bullshit.
Okay? Dude, he's so mad. He actually just got mogged. He's... Dude.
Well, she's welcome to reschedule if she wants. But she is not the main character. I will do whatever I fucking want with my fucking
whatever
show.
I fucking want with my fucking show.
Right? There's a reason that people don't trust Foodshops or want her around or want her on, okay? And she has every right to feel upset or hurt or anything like that. But to come on to my show when I have graciously, right, unbanned her for the specific purpose, right, to hear her out, to hear her side, right? And because it wasn't in the time that she wanted, if she had been...
It wasn't in the time you agreed to. It wasn't in any way what you were initially offering. The offer changed again and again until it was completely different to the initial offer.
Like, hey, I can't do it right now. It's too late. You guys went too long. Let's do it another day. Perfectly fine. And she's still welcome to do that. But let's not pretend that that was anything.
Interesting that counterpoints can be abbreviated CP. Anyone know why he chose that name?
Other, right, than this entitled bullshit. Okay. So that's...
Can I...
Go ahead.
Hit it? Yeah, so what I would say is that this is the game, you know, it is what it is. We're all creators. When you have a certain amount, we're all competing for time and attention and the money that's there. You make hay while the sun shines. So when you have a few creators who are in the room and they want to talk, then you let them talk. That way you can have good content. And then also, you know, platform sizes are all relative. But the truth is that when somebody comes on to a show or whatever, you are afforded the dignity and grace and etiquette of the person that you're going onto the platform with. So what I would say is just Jordan Peterson has this fantastic idea. It's not about winning an
Blood, what are you yapping
individual game. It's about winning the most amount of games over an extended period of time. So if you're constantly trying to like shit on people or fight them or win the individual game, but then you...
The offer... No, Moody Morgan, I know you're like painfully retarded every time you come into this chat. Are you like actually someone who hangs around? Do you actually do anything? The offer was a 2v2 debate with SFO and Wu and Wick. That was the offer, and it changed and changed and changed. And it became this new thing where she just gets to call in at the very end of a stream after Wu has already left, the person who talks the most shit about her. They have a whole segment talking shit on her without letting her on to defend herself. And then Wick still wants her to come on and provide the content. No.
Find that you're losing a series of games, then you're playing the game wrong. And so really what I'm encouraging is tact, grace, understanding, and attempting to be charitable to people who are maybe trying to be charitable to you.
Asta?
So
that's all I got.
I wouldn't have walked out like that if I were her.
Sure.
But I understand her frustration of being told
I think
that she
we
could come on at
understand
some
it too.
point. Yeah.
No, I get it.
Being
right?
like, hold on, let me just say it. Like being told that you can come on and then having people talk about you and then the moment's pass. Like I can understand being frustrated by that.
Sure. I think we understand it too, because people, as budding creators, we didn't get here overnight. We've had people shit talk us that we weren't allowed onto the shows.
I don't believe that.
Dogpiled.
Usually you're allowed on. Usually they'll allow you on. Colin, name a time you haven't been allowed on.
Panel debate shows. We've had people who we have.
Is that how you want to conduct yourself? Do you want to conduct yourself as a sort of person who shit talks someone without letting them on?
Love Mac. Knee super chatted $4.99. $4.99 from Love Mac. Knee, FW everyone else I'll need to hear more running into metal poles in her place.
Okay, thank you, Love Machine. True, the metal, dude, the metal clanking was so based.
Actively, I'm speaking for Wick, but I actively have people who don't like me.
Yeah, it's like, sure, there might be people that shit talk you when on stream and don't let you on, but you're saying you want to run your shit the same way? That's insane, no? Surely you would be against that.
it kind of, it is what it is at some point. So you kind of gotta roll with the punches as they appear. That's all you can do.
Yeah, it's this.
I mean, yeah, aren't the X-Men in school? Or are they all like adults? How old is Cyclops? X-Men. Cyclops age X-Men. Oh no, he's around 30. Around 15 or 16 when he and the X-Men had their first mission. Around 31, apparently. So I mean, I guess it depends when in the... I mean, obviously it depends when in the timeline you're talking, obviously. How old is Cyclops in the X-Men cartoon? Jubilee, Teenager, Gambit and Rogue 20s, Storm 20s, 30s, Cyclops, Jean, Beast 30s, Wolverine like 100. Pretty sure Rogue is... Yeah, Rogue has got to be an adult, but Jubilee will be a teenager.
Level, look, the reason I'm frustrated now, right? And I understand her frustration. I get it, right?
Gambit is so based. Gambit is so based. Gambit is the coolest X-Men.
This isn't
100%.
I don't throw a fit when it's kick or keep and people are running overtime.
Her show. I don't know. Right, and this was a courtesy. It was never going to be
Reverie Roundtable or Hippy Dippy or whatever.
Right? Oh, I don't know. I'm just frustrated now. $2 from Antelope the Greek to say victim complex.
Cry about it, Wick. You got mugged. Cry about it. Trans pedophile mugged you.
I've seen much worse. Right, but yeah, it's again.
Yeah, we've all seen a lot worse.
Right, you.
Oh yeah, true. Nightcrawler's up there as well. Fuck, Nightcrawler does compete with Gambit. That's true.
Opportunity is here. This is when I have time.
Well, maybe we can figure it out sometime.
Yeah,
in the future.
More than willing to reschedule if she wants to reschedule. Again, I want to hear her out. Like, again, I want to be clear what this was for my audience. We unbanned her specifically for this because she had made some comments that I found disturbing, and I'd seen some clips that I found disturbing. But I wanted to give a chance for everyone, and I think everyone deserves a chance to be heard. So rather than just take that ban off the thing, I was like, okay, let's hear you out. Let's give you a chance to explain it. Let's give you a chance to talk about it with me, and maybe we'll see, right? Because I know there's a lot of people who will be dishonest with portraying how these things are. That just happens, right? So I wanted to give them a real chance, and it's just
she deserves charity, but after we've all poisoned the well, we'll just have a 10-minute shit talking session about you before you come on, just to make sure that you're never able to make your case to the audience properly. Cool, nice one, sick offer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess then, since I do feel right speaking in her defense a bit, this is all stuff she has actually walked back on her own stream before. I've heard her do it many times. She's done it to me several times. So
I spoke to Wicca a few weeks ago, didn't I?
Like, I completely understand. But like, I'll vouch for whatever that is worth. That I've heard her do it before.
Thank you.
And so like I can understand.
I'm not sure it'll be happening again.
The frustration of seeing some apologia for Vaush when she got like absolutely fucking destroyed over the same thing, and it's like, well, yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand.
So there's an interesting thing there. I think Chad has said it. Apologia. I'm not the only apologia that I would or that I think I engage in tonight is accept.
Addy, you're live streaming soon. We will be going live soon. The mission has to be pushed to the next phase. Addy, what's going on? What's going on, Addy? What's the plan?
Accepting, like, Vaush's explanation for the rhetorical arguments that he was doing early in his career, but I don't think I ever said, like, oh yeah, that means that.
And you do internet security? You said you hacked, didn't you, last time?
What he, that means that the horse lolicon porn is based.
Oh
right?
man,
I didn't mean
that ever fucking happened.
No, I didn't mean you.
Did other people make apologia for that?
I think I've definitely. Well, I mean, Brianna did a little bit, but not much. But I have seen some people who were like very happy, to like shit on food shops when she was the topic of conversation, turn around and be like, "Well, I like Vaush though." So I've seen other people do that. People who weren't here tonight. I've seen them do it, and it's like that doesn't feel right.
And I just want to be clear. I have never done a show shitting on food shops. Never.
Yeah.
Not once. Right? I've never done a show shitting on Vaush either, right? Until maybe tonight. If you want to count tonight as it, right? You know what I mean? Like I've had criticisms of Vaush, I've had criticisms of food shops, right? But I just don't generally engage in that. So anyway. I will say that this was
Yes, not tonight, but the team has talked about taking it to the next level. The DGG demons on J-Stalk is growing his deception, and Destiny energy will be contested. The day will come. You just wait on it.
It was a poor showing, but it is what it is. So
it is what it is. And by the way, we all have poor showings. Okay, that's like Dev.
Yeah, you get emotional, and I get it.
Well, that's something that Dev said that I think is important. Is like that lack of charitability that he's shown to right-wing creators, basically like accusing like Sitch and Adam of being fucking closet Nazis or whatever the fuck. Like, dude, like if going forward, if he keeps doing that shit, then I'm not gonna feel sorry for you. Like next time that like a big controversy happens and you get fucking dogpiled and everybody's like breathing down your neck and calling you a fucking piece of shit, if you don't learn your lesson that it fucking sucks to be the one getting dogpiled, if you don't learn that shit, then I'm not gonna feel sorry for you next time it happens. So my like grace, or not that like Vaush needs me to succeed or anything, but my grace and interest in working with him in the future is based off of that 100%.
Okay, well, gang, I don't know what else to say on this since she's not here, but
so that's the end of the stream. Okay.